Welcome to this special webisode version of Cuse Countdown. I'm your host, Kevin Barry, alongside our analysts, Ben Fontana and Evan Weston. We'll take a quick look at Syracuse's next opponent, Georgetown, in just a little bit. But first, be sure to join the conversation online, much like you already have. Don't only check out sportsblog.citrustv.net for all of Syracuse's coverage of Cuse Sports, but also get involved on Twitter by following us at CitrusTV Sports and at Cuse Countdown. Now, first up, we'll warm up with a little bit of the three-man weave. And Ben, is Syracuse going to be elite with Fab Melo now back in the lineup?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You saw it on Saturday against St. John's, 25-point blowout. Now, this team is just completely better with Fab. Career high, 14 points. You saw people like that don't normally score, like Michael CarterWilliams, have a great game. And that's not even just off the bench. That's everyone. It just comes together and gels with Fab Melo out on the court.
Well, Ben, I don't even think they weren't elite anyway, if that makes sense. Well, Notre Dame, the team they lost to, pretty good team. Jack Cooley was a matchup nightmare with or without Fab. And then you have Cincy. They played really well. Jim Boeheim even said it. He loved the way they played against Cincinnati. And West Virginia, another good team that they defeated. I think they were a top 10 team with or without Fab.
Michael CarterWilliams got some serious floor time against St. John's, and even he said he doesn't know what's going to happen next. But what do you guys think? Is he going to be a bigger role on this team now?
No. It's just one game, guys. And as much as you'd like to see CarterWilliams step up, it's going to happen next year, especially if Dion Waiters leaves. He's going to have to run the point. That's going to be his job. If not, it'll be Brandon Trish, and he'll be the sixth man in the Dion role this year. Next year. But it's not going to happen this year. This year, he's going to keep doing what he's doing. He'll play in blowouts. He won't play in the next three games, Georgetown, UConn, Louisville, because they're just two good opponents. If he gets on the floor, it'll be a few minutes. I really don't think it's a big deal.
I don't completely agree with you that he won't see playing time against those bigger opponents, but I definitely think that he's not going to have a bigger role this year. He's going to wait until next year when Scoop leaves and potentially someone like Dion leaves. But really, when you look at Michael Carter-Williams, this guy is going to be a great player for Syracuse, just not yet.
Syracuse and Georgetown brings all the baggage you would expect. What kind of impact does that have, the intense rivalry, the atmosphere?
Oh, gotta love the rivalry between Georgetown and Cuse. I mean, you go all the way back to when Coach John Thompson said the Manley Fieldhouse is officially closed. That's a moment that Syracuse fans can never forget. And when Syracuse and Georgetown play, every time these Cuse fans get up and want to beat Georgetown, you're going to see 30,000 at the Carrier Dome on Wednesday, and Syracuse fans are going to be pumped to beat the gray and blue.
Oh, yeah, and they're calling for an orange out. The entire crowd is going to be blanketed in orange, at least hopefully for Syracuse. The crowd is going to get into the game. It's going to be a very loud atmosphere, the loudest it's been all season, especially with UConn coming up just 3 days later.
Right. Ben and Evan, thanks so much. Well, you can't look too far ahead without taking a quick look back. Last time out, Fab Melo returned to the Orange lineup, and with that size in the paint, the Orange ran away with a 95-70 win over the Red Storm. Citrus TV's David Deguzman and WAER's Chris Lewis were at Madison Square Garden for the Cuse rout.
Welcome into Cuse Countdown on the road as Syracuse defeating St. John's on this floor by 25 points. I'm David Deguzman alongside analyst Chris Lewis. Chris, this game saw the return of Fab Melo. How important will that return be for the rest of the season?
Well, you saw it right away in the St. John's game when he came in. The defensive intensity just so much better. The way he was able to swat away shots, the flex shots. He was active on defense, also active on offense. So against Georgetown, this will be key because they like Hollis Thompson and Nate Lubick. Those are bigs who like to go around the perimeter. So if Fab Melo is able to be active and be a little bit mobile on defense, that'll help Syracuse out a lot against Georgetown.
Freshmen stepping up like Michael Carter-Williams and Rakeem Christmas. Do you think they'll get a bigger role as the season progresses?
I honestly don't think so. I mean, when the games start heating up, this was a St. John's game where Syracuse was on cruise control for pretty much 10 minutes in. Against teams like Georgetown, Louisville coming up, UConn. These are close games, and while Jim Boeheim would like to go with freshmen, he said after the St. John's game that he doesn't really know how to use four guards. So in a close game, I have to imagine a three-guard Scoop, Dion, Trish. Those are the guys that he'll go with.
Coach Jim Boeheim saying after the game that he was very impressed about how this team was passing the ball, especially in the second half. How crucial will it be in games like Georgetown and in UConn where that will be important?
Well, Georgetown it's important because they like to limit possessions. They run a Princeton offense and they control the tempo. So at Syracuse, you can't afford to be wasting possessions going one-on-one. You have to take advantage, share the ball, and make sure you get quality shots because you won't get as many as you do against a team like St. John's who will turn the ball over and give you open court looks. Georgetown's careful, so Syracuse has to be.
That's our analyst, Chris Lewis. Chris, thank you so much for joining us. And that's Cuse Countdown on the road. Back to you guys.
Thank you, David. Now we give our analysts the rock and let them run the fast break. And first up, Fab Melo in the middle for Syracuse gives the Orange some size, but Georgetown isn't so bad themselves.
Right, Georgetown is pretty good. They got a lot of big men, but their big men tend to be more of shooters, not that big post presence. So I'm going to say Syracuse really dominates the paint in this game, because when you look at the size of Fab Melo, the size of Rakeem Christmas, they've really gelled over the year and come together as a unit. So Syracuse, I say, maybe out-rebounds Georgetown like they out-rebounded St. John's. Now, St. John's was a smaller team, a younger team, and Georgetown has that experience, but still, I think Syracuse has gotten back into the swing of things. They got a couple days to recoup after a road trip to Madison Square Garden, and Syracuse is really going to dominate Georgetown in the paint.
I got to disagree with you on this one, Ben. Georgetown's got a guy named Hollis Thomas. He's 6'8", and he shoots 48% from three. That's ridiculous. He's the Rashard Lewis of college basketball. I mean, the guy is a terrific shooter. Syracuse already has trouble defending the three in the 2-3 zone. Could be a long night if the size goes inside with Henry Sims and then outside with Hollis Thomas.
Now, Georgetown on the season shoots 47% from the field. Do they do that against Syracuse?
No, they don't, because Georgetown is a slow starting team. Georgetown has shot worse in the first half than in the second half in their past 9 games. They're a terrible starting team. They were 3 for 23 in the first half against Rutgers. So when you get off to that kind of slow start against an elite team like Syracuse, you're going to have trouble. You're going to be playing catch-up. You're going to be taking bad shots, and that leads to, I think, somewhere between 40 and 43%.
Well, here we are running the fast break, and I'm going to dish it once again. And that 47% number, I mean, as you said, it's the season average. But when you look at Georgetown, they're going to have to shoot it from outside and shoot it a lot. I think that just means that this 2-3 zone is going to extend for Syracuse, and it's just going to happen that Georgetown is going to miss a bunch of shots, and it's not going to be their day inside the Carrier Dome, especially with all that noise.
You guys have crunched some numbers, so what do you think about Syracuse scoring over 68 points?
Well, they're not going to do that because it's going to be a close game. As I said, defense on both sides. Georgetown held USF to 45 points over the weekend. They didn't allow a field goal till 11 minutes into the first half. That's pretty incredible. And as I talked about the 2-3 zone for Syracuse, that's really going to come in handy for them too. So again, a very defensive game. Both teams scoring around the 60s. A low-scoring game for Syracuse, as we know, an offensive powerhouse. But still, it's going to be a low-scoring game, close at the end.
All right, Georgetown lets up 58 a game. Syracuse scores 78. I think it'll be a lot closer to 78. Syracuse is a really good offensive team. They have Fab back. That number's dragged down by the 3 games that he was out. This is a team that regularly scores over 80 points. They're going to be just fine. I think easily clear the 68 benchmark.
And you mentioned it, Evan. Syracuse certainly seems to be firing on all cylinders with Fab Melo back in the lineup. So what are your X factors? What does Syracuse have to do to win?
Well, they got to shoot the ball well. I mean, it comes down to perimeter shooting. As I said, Georgetown's defense is just really, really good. So guys like Dion Waiters, who have been struggling over the past couple games, guys like Brandon Trish, who have been hot at times, have to be on in this game in order for Syracuse to win. And I think the fans are really going to help. I've talked about it all game or all show long. But really what's going to happen in the end is Syracuse is going to have to hit their shots to win against this really, really staunch Georgetown defense.
Well, I like a guy who can impact the game without being a main presence, and that's Otto Porter. He's Georgetown's 6th man. He's a 6'8" freshman forward that, I don't know, just happens to be leading the team in rebounding. This guy can come off the bench a few minutes into the game, give a spark, challenge Fab Melo under the basket, see if they can slow down Syracuse early, and then would get Georgetown over their slow start and into the flow of things and able to win.
Doesn't get much more straightforward than this. Who wins?
Syracuse, but it's going to be close. Definitely the biggest test of the season. Now, you didn't think you had your pulse after West Virginia when that last-second shot almost went in? Well, watch this one, because it's going to come down to the wire between the Orange and the Hoyas. I say SU wins it 66-64 by the slimmest of margins. I don't know who's going to hit the big shot, but Syracuse is going to win it at the end. Close.
I hate to stop the hype machine here, but I don't think it's going to be as close as Ben does, which is weird for us. I usually pick a closer game. I'm going their season averages in points. 71 for Syracuse, 78 for Georgetown. An SU victory. They get up big early. Georgetown has a tough time shooting in that first half. They'll play catch-up. Thompson will hit some threes, but in the end, it's going to be all Syracuse. Way too much firepower.
Ben and Evan, thanks so much once again. That's all for this webisode edition of Cuse Countdown. Be sure to come back to sportsblog.citrustv.net and catch our full shows online and at Time Warner Cable Sports and on the ARN Television Network on the Syracuse University campus. Alongside Ben and Evan, I'm Kevin. Thanks for watching.